My name is Eric Cinnamon Brown, writer and executive producer of Sundays After Church and owner of Cinnamon Brown Entertainment.
I am Natasha Boyce Brown. I am business partner, wife, chief of operations, and also executive producer of Cinnamon Brown Entertainment.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I'm going to show you that anything is possible to those who believe. I want you guys to take notes, check out how this couple started, sustained, and are succeeding. They have, Hollywood stars in their movie. We're going to get some more games, so in case you have a film, TV, something you want to do, maybe you take some jewels from that. This will be game you can use. So you guys meet the Browns. Yeah, the other Browns. And I want to start here just because people will say, oh, you have this film. Of course, you must have been an actor before, or you must have done this before. Can y'all talk about a journey as a married couple that I don't think were traditionally, like, you guys weren't, grew up in Hollywood that I heard, at least. How did you get into this and agree to do this film?
Oh, it's a long story. I've been writing since college. So I was always a creative writer. I started writing seriously nonfiction and fiction in 2007. I switched over to fiction. None of it sold. So I was out, working. I had a lot of family health problems and stuff. So I needed more money. So at that point, my first wife was ill. So we were trying to figure out, how do we make extra money? Because I was working in corporate America. And I was out selling my books that normally just didn't sell. So I was out and realized that the romance market is what sold. And so that's when I got the idea of writing some romance stories, but I wrote them under my male pen name, under being myself. Nobody would buy them. So then I realized I needed a fake persona and created the pen name Cinnamon Brown. And once I did that, the first book I wrote went #1 on Amazon, doing that. And I went on to write 10 more books, romance books, under that pen name that kind of set the stage. And they sold relatively well, some bestsellers, but I did about 10 of them did that. And then I stopped writing for some years. And then during COVID, I needed a way to have an outlet. And Tasha and I were living together at that point, and I started writing as an outlet during COVID because we were just shut in, and wanted to be a screenwriter. So I went to film festivals, and all the people said, we can't read your scripts. Legally, we can't read them. And that's when people said, you need to do your own film. So I came home and told my wife, we got to do a film. And she was like, huh? And so the first film we did was Cuffed, which was it's a short film based on a feature-length script that I wrote.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. Millionaire.x.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit Millionaire.x.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
And Mrs. Brown, I want you to get in there too, because when somebody says they want to write or they want to do a movie, a lot of times it doesn't matter, male, female, the other spouse is like, you want to do what? And, how much time is that going to take away from the family? How much money is that going to take away? And, I don't know if you can reveal any of those novels because you wrote it under a pen name, so you might not want to, but you have a real job. We don't have to say the name. I'll just say, you guys, if you had stock in the company that he works for, if you got it years ago, you're not mad. And so you have a serious company and a real job. So Mrs. Brown, give us the game on how you supported that, what your thoughts were when he said that, because I guess you knew him as, he had this passion, but what did you think?
Wow, I had a lot of competing thoughts. I knew I read some of the racy romance novels. And so I'm thinking, okay, do we want to put that type of content out, or are we going to do something different? Are we going to do a combination of drama, racy, and some other important messages? So I did wrestle with that about what type of movies are we going to put out. I wanted to know more about that. But I totally supported him going into film because we're both we got to have an entrepreneurial mindset, and we had both done some real estate, some other things, and we were looking at business opportunities and just decided together, let's go forward with seeing what we could do with screenplays and films. But had no idea what I was getting into, what we were getting into. No idea what it said to make a movie. And so I was just there in the beginning as an assistant, and really didn't start working on the film until I get a frantic call from Eric saying, "Hey, we're in a room full of a bunch of men. We're about to do a scene that, it's not a sex scene, but it's, just it's only one woman here to do this romantic scene, and I need you to be here to be another witness to the scene." And so that was my introduction to film as our intimacy coordinator, because anybody who works in film knows that as of 3 or 4 years ago, every set is required to have an intimacy coordinator to be there if any kind of romantic intimacy, sex scene, whatever, to make sure that there's no harassment of the women or men on set. And so that was my first job, official job in film. And then later on, as we continued to work together, we worked with a lot of different people who essentially, lied on their resume. It couldn't do the things that they said they could do. And so, we sit down and kind of talk, and he calculated, "Hey, is this something you want to do? Do you want to do this together?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to do this together, because there's nobody who's going to care about our company more than me." So that's how that kind of journey went for us to start working together and doing films together.
Okay, and I want to give you your props too, because until last year, you had a real job. You guys, I really think this couple met at a CIA meeting, where that's what I think, and they said we might be the only black ones in here, and that's how they met. I'm just throwing that rumor out first, so you guys can run with it. But you had a serious job working for the government. You went to, I went to the Harvard of the South, but you also went to a great HBCU as well, the one that some of us couldn't afford at the time, or we didn't have the grades. Shout out to Clark. But but so when putting this together, a lot of couples argue about money, but it sounds like y'all were right on point. How did you know how much money to put in this film? Because you got one of my favorite, actors, Clifton Powell, in there. And people might say he's not the most expensive, but most people aren't accustomed to spending that type of money, and he's not the only one. So how did y'all come and decide budget?
Budget, this film, it kind of, I knew roughly what I wanted to spend. You always end up spending more. You just do. But we knew what we could do, and with us working our savings, what we would, if we ever in a pinch, don't ever invest more than you can't pay back, because we're using basically our own money and debt to do it. So we just decided we want the parakeets because they did a really, really good job, and we wanted to create and I always had the idea of wanting to create a very professional environment from day one. So treat everyone with respect, try to pay what the industry pays, even though it would be called SAG Ultra levels. We paid that as a minimum. Made sure people got fed on set, because they can't work if they can't eat, making sure they have the equipment and the environment they need to function, and trying to create an environment around it, because all I have is starting out is your reputation. And one of the things Clifton keeps saying is that you do good business, man. That's the one reason I'll still deal with you. I've met so many janky people in this business that you do what you say you're going to do. If you can't do it, you say it. You're very straightforward. That's carrying us through a lot of things. And it's actually found us small investors that were like, "I like what you're doing. I like how you're moving. I like how your team moves. Let me give you some money to see if you can make this work." That's just the kind of thing that's been working out when you just carry yourself with a certain amount of integrity, that people want to see you win or want to be a part of it. And even the investor we're using doesn't want his name told, doesn't want anybody to know, doesn't want any credit. He's like, I see what you're doing. I've watched you evolve. I want to help out. And we were like, oh, okay. So we've stuck to that. And so with the budget, we tell people what we can afford. We try to stick to that. We also want to have creative flexibility to not make it look janky. And we push it a little bit there. But then with our crew, we tell them, this is what we got. what can we make it work to make it as realistic as possible to be engaging and it doesn't look cheap? Because at the end of the day, a lot of our filmmakers are new and they also want to make their name with this. And I'm like, I have no problem with that. So make the best product you can technically and acting wise. And then let that be on your resume because that's a feather in your cap that you can always point to.
Oh, I was just going to add, definitely Eric is the bigger risk taker in this couple. So we did have to have also some talks about how much money are we going to spend, how does that affect the family budget. I love to travel. I didn't want to mess with my travel money. So we definitely had some important talks about, okay, how much money are we going to put into this, to our projects. And, I'm also a financial coach or money coach. So, it's always important for me to say, hey, how much money are we going to keep in our emergency fund so that we have something to fall back on with all of the changes that's happening in the economy with jobs and, layoffs and everything. So it was important for us to have that talk as well before continuing to move forward. But still excited about let's do these films, let's do this TV series, because I've always believed you can't leave it all at the office because, these jobs aren't loyal. So that's how I feel about it.
At all. And we've had those conversations about, AI. Again, I'm not saying, Eric, where you live, where you work, but he is big time. And whether AI replaces you or not, or changes your role, you guys be prepared. But people sometimes don't even have these conversations when starting a new project or business as a couple. And then they wonder why they're constantly fighting or other things happen. And it's like, have the conversation. And if you can't have the conversation, go to therapy and have the conversation. The conversation is going to be had one way or the other, whether we're in a crisis and we need more money or not. So have the conversation. It's like life and death. Talk about the death part. So when it happens, people know what they're going to get and what they're working with.
Yeah.
What would y'all say was the hardest part of putting this film together? You have the money, you got the plan. What's the most difficult part that you did not expect?
Underestimating the number of people we had to feed. That was the hardest part. Like, oh, we got 100 people on this set, and how many people need to eat every day? And I grossly underestimated that. And we like, all right, so the budget's going to be higher than it was after the fact. We knew on day one, like, oh yeah, we already blew the food budget. All right, what are we going to do? Because we had a lot of people, 70 to 100 people on set.
So our caterers are wonderful people.
T&R Catering.
T&R Catering, they put us on a layaway payment plan after the shoot closed. It also helps that one of the caterers is also in the TV series. So if you work for Cinnamon Brown, you have to be multi-talented because all of us have at least about 4 or 5 roles and jobs to make this happen. And so, yeah, I think the food was the top one. And then the next one was makeup. Definitely treat your makeup artists really well because they have to be paid well to be on set to do so many faces for 10 to 12 hours a day. Sorry.
If not longer. We were doing 18-hour days for the shoot. So those were the things that you don't think about because you're thinking it's like almost like a military operation with the logistics sometimes when you're like, oh, I messed that up. So that was the hardest part. We knew from my project management background how to schedule, how to do staggered rollouts for different scenes. So I knew how to do that, but the managing the people and making sure the logistics in place to support the crew and the cast, that was where I was a gap for me. That was hard. Yeah.
We don't want to get messy, but we definitely can talk about, we have an amazing crew and cast now, but that took a lot of time of getting comfortable with pivoting and letting people go if they're not effective in what they were in their job, whether they're in crew or cast, and being okay with that because as Eric said earlier, we like to be a safe place for a safe space for creatives where they can develop and grow. And so we're coming at it as we're trying to mentor people as well while we're learning this process. But for some cast and crew, it didn't work out. And so we had to get very comfortable with moving people out of positions and moving new people into positions. And so that was a very challenging, hard process as well, because everybody want to be a star, everybody want to be famous, but not everybody wants to do the work. So
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit cprfirm.com, that's colemanprfirm.com, and millionairex.ai. Then download the Millionaire X app, your AI-powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business. It's different.
Isn't that always the case? But talk about, go back to the intimacy coordinator position. Had you had ever done that before? That's fairly new, and there's so many movies that are probably still lacking that, or you might see Epstein as being I could just see it, with his whole new face and everything. The predator is supposed to be the protector. What are the qualifications for that? And did you guys have to, talk to SAG about that and show documentation? I just want people to know so they can know what they should be doing if they're not doing it already.
Okay. Well, an intimacy coordinator is required if you are union, and if you are doing a SAG project. So we're non-union right now, but we, of course, we want to keep up with best business practices in all, elements of filmmaking. So as soon as I had that first experience, I went online and started researching really quickly, what does it take to be an intimacy coordinator? What are the requirements? And I basically just follow what SAG has posted online to make sure I'm following those procedures and educating all of the actors on set of what their roles and responsibilities are. So whether you're union or non-union, you want to have someone on set that everyone can go and talk to and have that conversation about consent. This is the scene. Have you guys choreograph the scene? Is everyone comfortable with how it's going to go? You agree to put your hand here, and that person agrees to put their hand here, and then we're going to kiss here, and we have the actors sign off on that to make sure everybody is comfortable and they understand that if they change their mind, even if it's mid scene, they can change their mind and say, I'm not comfortable with this scene as it is right now. Let's pivot. And I think that carries over to how we run the business in other parts, because we make sure that we have clauses in our contract for our crew, for investors, anybody who's on our set. They have to agree to what is it called, babe?
Non-fraternization, harassment.
Yeah.
So you can't sleep around, can't move. No flirting, no harassment on set by either part, because we've had experiences with that where it makes a really bad work environment. And so we just basically you can't do it here. And so we'll let people go around that stuff. Like when you overstep and it, we just got to cut you loose, because we don't need the Epstein stuff to even a smidgen of that, because we want to make a place where people want to come work. And I've heard of other productions where people ask who's on that production, and they hear a name and they don't even want to touch them because that person's gotten a lot of bad behavior in the industry and nobody wants to work with them. We don't want to have that be us. So we're really cognizant of that. So that's another thing we instituted.
So you have to declare your love for that person before we go to set, or at the end. You can date at the end. Well, after we say wrap, it's a wrap. Then you can date that person you've been eyeing the whole time.
Yeah. Gotcha. And a lot of people meet at work, but but there are a lot of creeps. But did you take any of the certifications or the workshops before doing that? Because now that you've done it, you could do that for all type of films. And are you curious and interested in doing that? But did you take any of the formal training?
I didn't take any of the formal training, because we were looking, we were looking at expenses, and, we could use that few $1,000s in other areas. But that would be something that I would look at, in the future, because you need intimacy coordinators everywhere, in theater, in all types of arenas. So it's for people who are interested, it's not terribly expensive. It may be a few $1,000s and then you get recertified every year. But for us, we had to use that money for catering.
Mhm. Gotcha. And it's just amazing. And why I do this show, I want to show people doing interesting things, but that the fact that you're doing this, it might lead you to a whole nother area because, it's nepotism for sure. But you get in, you put your money up, and now you're able to get in. Hollywood is big, but it's small. And film moves slow sometimes. And sometimes I had a friend who is a unit publicist, and when she lived in Atlanta back in the day, I've been doing this 20 plus years, she was like one of maybe 5 unit publicists. So it's like, hey, you need a unit publicist, you go call this person. And it's just it was awesome till people learn what a unit publicist is, and then all of Hollywood comes to Atlanta. But with this film, you guys, I want you to go check out the film. The links will be in the description, but I also want you guys to let them know, where they can see it. And if you guys, through it, or we're going to put it in a movie theater so it could qualify for awards. You know how that game goes.
That's a possible. Right now we just got notified we're going to be in the Toronto Pan African Film Festival in August. So that was
Emma. Thank you, Emma.
Yeah. So that thank you big time. So we got that, and then we'll see, and then we want to take it like on a tour, to different cities that we're basically do our own Chitlin circuit where we can show the first episode and then meet the cast and crew, talk back type thing. But we've talked about theater release, and that's a possible. But we just it's a getting awareness of the show because right now it's on Amazon and Apple TV, and then on our website Cinnamon Brown Entertainment, and then another platform called IndieTube.com. Those are the 4 places you can purchase it or rent it.
Hello everyone, join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon. I don't ever South Africa. No, I don't take shit. I got no culture. Military and you wanna play tough and wanna hate this. Forever central and make it statement. I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love. Why the fakeness? If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make it statement.
Everything I do is so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patent it. Being negative when you should be getting after.
And I said, thank you, Emma Ansan, EA Public Relations, because some people will say, hey, talk to Emma, and they'll in Canada, and they'll say, what's in Canada? That's the inside, y'all. So now we see, and but no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I can see I'll be on the red carpet shining. That'll be beautiful. What for you for this first film? Of course, you want everybody to see it. You want to recoup your money, but outside of that, what's like a goal? Would you love to, have people like reciting the lines that you wrote as a writer? That's what I would think. Like, oh man, they're reciting my lines. What's your goal?
That would be part of it, but also legacy, because I feel like Black film has been restricted because I've noticed over the years, once the Cosby Show ended, Different World ended, the people that won awards were playing racist tropes. That's just really what it is, So it was like we had to play what Hollywood wanted us to play. That one-dimensional thug, the prostitute, the drug addict, the bad mom, the bad dad. That's essentially, or the one safe Black friend. That's pretty much what Hollywood is. And so I wanted to create a show where the characters are nuanced. There's good and bad in them, but they can also rise to a higher calling. You've got the women that are still feminine, but can step up when they need to. The men can be masculine, and we have reinstitute like a form of a warrior class where we have grown adult men that are competent in the community doing things to uplift the community. So I wanted to create lasting images of people that are engaging to watch, but they have a higher calling, which is when in the show is called being on code for the community. So when I'm gone, if it's still out there, some kid or teenager watching like, oh, I really dig this and I'm learning something from it. I'm learning that I want to be like aspects of Pastor Clayton, or I want to be somewhat like First Lady, Clayton, certain things about her I really like, or Deaconess Barry, or this and that, or you can overcome things so that you have a broader spectrum of images for Black people to digest and chew on, that can figure out as kids are trying to develop their personality, who they want to be. It's there because for my wife and other Black women, it was Claire Huxtable. Everybody wanted to be Claire Huxtable. And now you notice everybody wants to be Sexy Red. There's a problem with that extreme. And so I wanted to counter that, and that's what this show was meant to do, is my own sort of psychological warfare against what white Hollywood has been trying to do to us for the last 30-something years.
Yeah, if not longer. It wasn't built for us, and that's why, we have to create our own, and people may judge and say, they may judge this show. Most people are listeners, but those who do go look at the video, and, there's other places than YouTube that it will go, and they might say, why is the audio not like this? Which we clean up the audio, folks. Why is the filming not like this? Hey, we are working the best way, cameras, lights, all of that. But we also don't want to sell out, so we only have to talk about what they want us to talk about. And you have some characters, and some of those characters, hey, y'all, don't be that pastor, don't be that first lady. In the beginning of the movie, it's gonna hook you. Don't be too much like her. But the reality is, and I say this especially for Black folk, we need to start being honest what's happening, not just in the church, but in our families, letting people know, because you shouldn't have to find out that Granddaddy had a whole family on the other side of town at the funeral. Things need to be very clear. These things have been going on, and folks been preached in the pulpit, generational curses, while they are creating the generational curse.
Yeah.
So, at some point, we're going to have to say, are we all swingers? Or, we know we're all flawed, but, things are happening. We need to be straight up with it. With this film, what is a give back, a community give back with this film that you or your company that you would like to do, or that you're doing? And is there a way, the audience can help you out?
Purchasing the film is the main one, but eventually I want to get to the point where it's like a pipeline. So people, the young people, because I noticed with a lot of my technical crew, this was their first time doing lead work where they're the DP, they're the director. They're usually relegated to the PA status, and then the white guys take over the roles of the crew positions where they get the most experience. So I want to create a pipeline where young Black men and women can come in, and we can run them through there early to see if they want to stick with it, but they have an opportunity to be exposed to the technical side to become a very good DP, a director, wardrobe, stuff that they're usually kept out of, because essentially, from what I'm hearing in Hollywood, the white people in the trades block the Black people out. So that's why you see very few directors and very few DPs of color. So I want to create a pipeline like that here in Richmond, where if you're young, you want to start out, you can get your feet wet here. Almost like I started out in public access. You come in, you volunteer for free a little bit, and you learn a little bit. That's where that pipeline is. So you're not going to be exploited. You're not going to be casting couch stuff. This is like, you got the work ethic. You can stick with it. You can come here and learn a little bit and then move on with it however you want to.
Rain here. All I saw was the red on yours, but it's been raining in Florida. So I'm going to just start where I got what you said, and I got, cut off. So I'm going to start there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, in Hollywood, I would say a lot of us don't even hire us. So that's great that you are doing that. I've been on big studios where, people rent it out. Big studios, I almost said too much, and you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. But if I give the location, and it's kind of close to y'all too in Virginia, but let me stop there. But we don't even hire us and give us a chance sometimes, even though we might be talking about those things. What is the plan? We're going to do the film festivals. We're going to do PR, try to sell this thing out. I know you already have more film. What's the plan? Are you open to take investors' money? And if so, where can they contact you? And what are the rules for that? What's the splits looking like? Because, this is a boo-boo business and they want to take it all.
Yeah. They can contact us at cinnamonbrownentertainment.com. Right now, we're doing investor blocks that start at $10,000, and they get 1 point in perpetuity, and then they get a 10% return on that principal investment. That's the deal. So per 10,000 they invest, they can earn up to 1 point, maximum of 3 points. That's the deal with the 10% return on that principal investment.
Let me ask, because I haven't had time to finish the whole thing, but are there any plans on both of you starring or being in the film as well? Why or why not?
I know I'm a more of a background dude. I have acted way back, but I don't have the emotional range of vulnerability to be vulnerable to play a nuanced role. I'll write, I'll produce, so most likely not.
Most likely no. When we have extras that haven't made it to set on time, you'll see my face pop up here and there. Yeah, I don't see myself as an actress. I do love to sing, so I have gotten him to promise me that he'll write in a scene where we're at a jazz club and I'm singing by the piano or something maybe. But no acting for me as well.
Oh man, okay, you guys. Look at this. If this doesn't look like they could get in the film themselves, whatever role, you got the custom suit ready, the dress is ready. Why not? Spike Lee, Eddie Murphy, and all the others. I was playing Coming to America, showing my youngest, and I'm like, they played in this scene. 2 people played 7 roles, and so just curious. Well, no, I like this. I want people to go see the film, and I'd love to be able to do this again and again. I don't want to overdo it. You guys, I also want you to go check out the interview on the African Diaspora News channel with, they have the cast, and they did it real big. I just wanted to nerd out, but let them know where they can find you. If there's a YouTube channel or anything like that they can, get update, please give us the game while I'm in the rain.
Yeah, it's Cinnamon Brown Studios on YouTube. And then our website, cinnamonbrownentertainment.com, is the site to find us, email us, contact us, and stay up to date on what's dropping.
And then also we have a page just for the show Sundays After Church on Instagram. So it's at Sundays After Church TV series.
Awesome. You guys have got the game. I thank you for staying to the end. Do me a favor. You can comment if you like. You can like it if you like, wherever you experience this. But however you experience it, please share this game with somebody that will change your life. Dreams do come true. Y'all be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stretch the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.